Hey, this is Jamie from Green River Ordnance. You're listening to Lone Star Community Radio on 104.5 KCZW LP Conroe and 106.1 KZCC LP Conroe and worldwide on irlonestar.com.
Shall we begin? Let's begin now.
Hello and welcome to the Ticket Stub, Montgomery County's #1 movie podcast.
Yeah.
The world's #1 movie podcast.
Yeah.
In our hearts.
Yeah.
We're coming to you live from downtown Conroe, 104.5 and 106.1 FM every Thursday at noon. Coming live. You can also find us on podcast feeds. You can find us on YouTube. Our YouTube channel is starting to heat up a little bit.
Heat it up.
Yeah, talking to some people that are liking to watch instead of just listen, and especially as we're starting to pump out some bonus content. It'll be available on the
post credit scene.
the after the little like Avengers teaser trailers.
Yeah.
As we start dropping those, we got the three of us are hosting studio today. I'm Connor, and we're here with Dick. How you doing, man?
Doing well. I do want to mention that we did an interview with Alexander Cooper, Parallel, the movie that Chris reviewed last Thursday. So that's going to be dropping probably between now and next Thursday.
Yeah, again, bonus content available on the podcast and on the YouTube. Also in studio, Chris Appel. How you doing, friend?
Doing well. We just started selling variety pins at the theater.
Woo!
When you mentioned that when you walked in, I had no idea what you were talking about.
Yes,
I still don't know what
Is
you're
Variety
talking
a
about.
company, or do you mean you have a variety of pins?
Variety is a charity. It's a children's charity. It's the charity of movie theaters, basically, and they help children with disability issues and mobility issues. Like they buy them special wheelchairs and bikes. So we sell these pins. I'm going to show it to the camera here. If I can pick it up. So you see there.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, it's Sherlock Gnomes variety pin.
Can I see that? Throw that over here to me.
Just what we all want is the Sherlock Gnomes. But this is more probably...
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
You're good. Hold on,
I'm
one second.
sorry. I Tim Tebowed that to you.
Oh, timely
That's
reference.
Great reference.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
in 2012, that would have killed.
But the pins are $3.
Okay.
And all the money goes to charity. It was cool. One year we actually raised enough money to get a bike here locally for a child here through the grant. So that was really neat.
Awesome. And so these are for kids or for anybody?
For anybody that wants them, yeah. We sell them at the box office and the concession stand.
Do they only do kids movies?
Generally, it
Like
is.
if
we had
this
Star
had
Wars
Vin
one year.
Diesel's face on it,
I'd be in.
like that,
Oh, yeah.
that would probably sell a lot
You might
better.
need run that up the ladder, man.
Yeah, we should. So you want a little kid wearing a Vin Diesel pin?
Are they? Oh no, it sounded like these pins are for everybody.
Well, they are for everybody.
So
And yes, I want a little kid wearing
But,
it.
you know,
to answer your question, yes, I do want that.
The pins are for everybody, but Vin Diesel is not. So
whoa, who says that?
I said that.
But hey, the feeling of helping someone out, that's priceless.
That is true.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah, man, Dick's not convinced. Well, good. So everyone stop by the Grand, buy a Sherlock Gnome variety pin.
Isn't that movie old?
No,
No,
it's
it hasn't
coming
come
out.
out yet.
Is it a sequel?
Okay, here's the thing. So
Kind of.
So
I feel like there's another gnome movie.
There is.
there was one earlier, I think.
There's two.
Nomeo and Juliet. This is
Yep.
like the sequel to Nomeo and Juliet that came
Okay.
out. Because I had the same thoughts. Because I saw the trailers and I was like, I thought I saw trailers for this like 2 years ago. But it's like maybe a sequel or related.
Yep.
So here's the deal. I've got a girlfriend. She has 2 kids, so I go see more kids movies now than I used to in the theater.
Here's the deal.
Here's the situation, okay? Every little kids movie, it's like they want to be edgy, but they can't. So they have to make jokes. Like there's one bird movie coming out, and it's like, and now you're gonna realize how everyone is plucked, you know? And they all have a joke, like they all have jokes like that, where it's like that's kind of crossing the line, you
Yeah,
know?
a little bit.
But it's not saying anything bad, really, but it is alluding.
The issue with kids movies, from my one experience of seeing the Emoji Movie I had, was the trailers didn't stop.
Okay.
Like there was a stupid amount of kids movies coming out, and I'm like, all right, usually they pick like 2 dramas, when they do trailers. It was like every single kids movie that's coming out in the next 9 months is in the trailer, and it was probably about 8 trailers. I was like, oh my gosh,
Because you have to have the kids going like, mommy, I have
Yep.
to, I have to see this, and we have to buy the variety pin for Sherlock Gnomes. I hope you sell a bunch, man. I hope you do.
Yeah, we already have, and
Okay.
Yeah, we want to win.
And so how long
Beat
how long is
everybody
it
else.
there?
It's for a couple months at least. Yeah.
Okay. So a lot of time. A lot of time to buy your pin, and then wear it around town, and everyone will know.
Yeah.
that,
What
you
what
love.
you should be telling people is get Movie Pass, but then spend money at the theater. Because I feel like a lot of people who do Movie Pass, this is me included. Like if I ever had that, I feel like now I can actually afford quotes a drink.
Yeah,
You
or a
know.
gnome pin.
And
Or gnome pin.
Speaking of drinks, beer and wine, we launched it today.
Oh,
So
no
Why,
it
way.
is
why didn't
there.
you tell us that?
He just,
Well, I
he-
just
He
did.
just did right now.
What am I going
Because-
to tell you?
He has
What
to
was
lead
I
with
going to tell you
that?
last
So,
Thursday? I didn't know.
If you're a listener right now, who wants to have us have a mobile podcast? Because
So you're-
we do have the ability to have a
Let's
mobile
go.
podcast.
Yeah, you were waiting for the beer to come?
Yes.
Well, I have beer will travel. That's like kind of
I
my
see.
deal.
I was thinking about going tonight anyways. I'm going to have to go tonight. And
Well, now Connor can see those kids movies with a little bit of a better attitude. Mm-hmm. I'll get drunk enough and buy all the pins.
I'll take 1,000 gnome pins.
Yeah.
Please.
And a Bud Light.
And a bucket of Bud Light. So what all is offered? What alcohol? Is it just like basic beers and wine?
Beer and wine, yeah.
Okay.
That's
Well,
all we've got.
Do you have to have like your kids certified?
We're looking into that. It's not the law, but we're whether we
I
think
know
it's a good
I
thing
know
to
the
do,
liability
so,
is a little better.
Yeah.
You think your guys are going to be sneaking some in the back? You
I don't
gotta
think
keep
so.
a
No,
tough eye
we're
on
good.
that.
We're good. As long as everybody's over 18, we're good.
All right, well, sounds good. Well, we want to talk about the show today. We've got a lot of great things to discuss. We're going to rewind movies from the last week.
Yeah, I
and,
got a great movie to rewind today.
I know you do, and it feels good to be back. I missed last show. I've missed the bonus content. I'm like an absentee dad right now on the podcast, but it feels good to be back in studio. We're going to talk about movie news. We got a couple stories that are kind of related that we're going to work through, and talking about movies that are coming out, or are they? Little tease. Also, we're going to talk about the Razzies and the Oscars because it is full swing award season. There's already been a couple awards. The SAG Awards have already happened. The Golden Globes have already happened. Probably some other ones I don't know about have already happened. But the Oscars is obviously the holy grail of movie awards. The Razzies is the whatever the opposite of a grail is, the holy toilet of the awards ceremony season. And we're going to do some grand ticket giveaways at the end of the show. So let's hop in with some news. So there's several articles. The one I pulled was Snopes.com because Snopes is always good for determining what is real and what is not real.
I don't think about.
Do you buy Snopes?
I think today it's too outlet. There's too wild west to the scenarios of everything posted to the internet now. Like it is, the creativeness behind the onion has been bleeding, and people can really create some convincing content.
They really can. And with that being said, there is a trailer out. Actually, I think Chris texted this to us like on Monday or something like that, going like, "Dude, check this trailer out." And it's for the Crocodile Dundee
I don't
movie.
think those were my exact words.
It was like,
but-
dude, this is going to be my favorite movie of all time. Crocodile Dundee movie with Chris.
Already bought the pin.
Yeah.
The Dundee pin.
Yeah.
And it's got Chris Hemsworth and it's got
Danny McBride.
Danny McBride.
Yeah.
And they have a trailer. So
Two trailers actually.
they have two trailers
two
out
trailers.
there talking about the Dundee movie. And then I read an article that said that it's fake. That it is just a Super Bowl.
I don't think anyone knows what it is yet.
So here's my question. It's the thought is that it's a Super Bowl commercial, but it even has IMDb credits for the
Right.
actors. It has a website that is making it seem as if it's real.
Well, you know it's a commercial for, right?
No, I have no
Okay,
idea.
so the underground it's a commercial for Visit Australia. Like it's an Australia campaign to come to Australia for tourism.
That would not make me want to go.
Well, I know that's what they're trying to claim it as, but like you said, there is an IMDb credits and all that kind of
do
stuff.
countries take Super Bowl ads usually? Like, is there a lot of countries that have like? I mean, that
Yes.
Well, I mean, I think it's one of those questions. These ad agencies, or you're looking for promotion, that's probably one of the biggest video platform-based sponsor ads to put your stuff on.
Well, here's the deal. If it is a fake movie for a Visit Australia type thing, I think they're doing a good job. I mean, the buzz is out there, right? And do you agree? Do you agree this is an effective ad campaign?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think it is, but I am very relieved that it's not a real film.
Well, but maybe it is. What if all the fake news? Not to use that, but what if that is actually fake and it is a real movie?
What's funny is right when I saw it, I go, "How did Hogan sign off on this?" Because if you didn't know,
Yeah.
the main guy, Crocodile Dundee,
Does he have like all the rights?
he's known for being a butthead about this movie. Like he wrote, directed, and all. Like he's involved.
Okay.
He kicked people off. He sued people. He got sued by people for writing credits. And like I'm not kidding you. It's really funny to read about the production of both Dundees. And he married that woman.
Really?
The main girl, and so like even worse into like, is it nepotism? I guess that's what. Man, big words here on Ticket Stub.
Yeah.
But so when I saw that, I go, "There's no way they must have sold it for a buku amounts of dollars to make it this kind of a joke." Because he's involved, like he's always been involved in every single angle of. That's why he was not in a lot of movies.
So here's the thought that I had though. So I don't know anything about. I mean, that would be surprising, but dollar, you can buy anything. I mean, movies will spend unbelievable amounts of money to get the rights to things. But what if the idea that the trailer is a fake trailer is part of the movie's advertising scheme to get people talking about the, like, what if they...
Kind of like Deadpool releasing the action scene to see, do people really like this movie? We'll make it if they like this scene.
Kind of similar, but like, what if they're making the real movie and they're like, wouldn't it be awesome if we had everyone thinking that this was a fake trailer for a Super Bowl commercial, but then we will actually be making the movie?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so.
Is that a little too far-fetched?
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
That's just because you hate the idea of the movie.
I really do.
Why are you so anti-Dundee?
I'm not anti-Dundee. I like the Crocodile Dundee movies. I mean, we don't need another...
Well, I will say...
You know what I'm talking about. Another one of those.
I will say Danny McBride has really almost lost his stick.
He's
like,
not good.
Like, he's funny, and
ungood.
he's iconic in certain roles, but then that's it. Like, he keeps playing the same role in every movie. I haven't seen Alien Covenant, though, and I
he was actually okay.
So,
yeah.
I mean, I think it's important for him. For example, if I was his manager or whatever you call it, I'd be like, diversify, man.
Because he branched out. In Alien, he branched out a little bit. It was more of a dramatic
diversify your talent. And I think a lot of people were kind of weirded out by that was the son. But then if you remember Crocodile Dundee 2, they're in L.A. And so, and then he married the American woman.
I've seen these movies like a long time
so
ago.
It could be potentially that. Like, the timeline could work.
Like Hemsworth could be his son.
Well, the joke was Hemsworth is the illegitimate son that he left.
Oh, and McBride's the real son.
Well, they're both the real sons.
Okay.
But McBride's the son between the blonde girl.
See, look, there's like a lore behind the fake movie trailer.
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about.
That's what I'm thinking. I think it's a real movie. I think the fake news is like the diversion of the real movie.
Well, and in the end, though, like I said, when I saw that movie, but besides Paul Hogan, I thought, man, Danny McBride just ruins movies like this. To me, like, I have no desire to see it.
Well, the greatest Dundee of all is the Dundee Awards in The Office. So that's all I have to say about that.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Okay, moving on. We've got Inverse.com has an article that's talking about the release of the Deadpool 2 trailer. It's going to come attached to the Black Panther release in theaters. So you're going to see your first look at the Deadpool trailer in mid-February when Black Panther comes out. First off, mid-February is usually a terrible month for movies. I'm a little bit nervous that's when they're dropping the Black Panther movie.
Well, that's when the first Deadpool came out in February. And
it worked. And it was a huge surprise.
Big time.
Yeah.
The buzz around Black Panther at the theater
it looks great.
Is huge.
Yeah.
So it should do well.
Maybe just because it's such a garbage fire of time for other movies that if you release one good one, it can like go gangbusters. I hope it's going to be good. But the question about Deadpool, the first one was such a hit, and it came out of nowhere. I don't think people were expecting it. They didn't know what to expect. What's your hopes for Deadpool 2?
Well, I think it's going to be huge. I mean, I think it's going to do at least what the first one did. I don't think there's any lost interest. I mean, they have a very unusual marketing campaign. Like, we have teaser posters. Like, it's just them at, like, Thanksgiving dinner.
Yes.
It's just weird marketing stuff, and I think that works nowadays.
Well, yeah, especially when we were talking about the first one, it was such a surprise with everyone. I think that's what's going to happen. People are going to wait to see it, and then they hear about it. Because last time, no one really cared until they heard about it afterwards. So I think it's going to do well in the long run.
Well, I think ticket-wise, I think it's going to do really well. What I'm nervous is, like, content-wise.
Are they going to do a variety pen? See, that's a variety pen people would buy.
That would run off the shelves, the Deadpool variety pen.
I'm just letting you know.
Actually,
when you call them and, like, talk to them about serious...
Well, the president of our company is the president of Variety Children's
Well,
Charity, so I can
run it up
that.
the flagpole there, Chris.
I remember he and I discussed it last year of what the options were, and I don't remember what it was. I know this was one of them, and I guess that's what was chosen. But I don't have a say, really. It was just mentioned off.
Run it up the old flagpole.
Well, I think if you create something people want to buy for $3, like, people would buy a Deadpool mask pin.
Oh, yeah.
And they put on
or
their
maybe
hat
you run them both, whatever.
But how that ties into
who cares about
it's got to be kid-friendly.
Content-wise, to get back to the conversation that Connor's trying to have with us, I think it's going to be fine. I think everyone kind of stayed the same. I think the director is different, but, you know...
I guess what I'm worried about is that in a movie like Deadpool, what made it so great was that it was such a diversion from other kinds of superhero movies, and it was different, it was unexpected, and I just... Like, is that going to be good again? You know, if they do the exact same plot points, will it still be funny, or is it going to lose something? My feeling is that it will be good, but not. I mean, like most sequels, you know, it'll be a decent movie, funny, have some good action.
Well,
But-
really, what's important to it, this is at the crucial moment of the series of Deadpool, would be how do we integrate this with X-Men? Because X-Men's all over the place. I'm talking about the major movie timeline with the most recent ones. So it's kind of hard. I think Fox and Marvel, the people who do Marvel, because they're kind of in the same universe. They can be. I think that's what's going to be crucial for that movie is how are they going to tie it in? Because I don't think Fox knows what they're doing with X-Men right now.
Yeah.
Because I know the Phoenix movie's coming out with some of the same players, but I think
Well, Disney just bought Fox.
so
So everything's really up in the air at this
yeah,
point.
I think that's kind of the crucial part for the Deadpool fans because that's what I like Deadpool. Part of it was they didn't attach itself to X-Men, the X-Men we know. They chose characters that were either not at all in the other X-Men movies or were kind of mentioned.
And those characters were some of the really funny parts.
Yeah.
The little sprinkling of them in there, I think, really worked. But also, I think some of that was maybe budgetary. Also, you know,
They made a fourth wall break with that.
They
comment,
joked about it,
and I think that's hilarious.
and they'll definitely have the money to do whatever they want with this one. So we'll see where they take it. All right, we need to go to break. When we come back from break, we will be rewinding the movies that we've seen from the last week. If you have any thoughts or comments about what we've talked about in the first segment of the show, go on our Twitter, which has like 145 followers now, by the way. Thanks, Chris. He's on fire with the Twitter. Or our Facebook, like, comment, leave us something, and we'll talk about it here on the show. Other than that, we'll be rewinding when we get back on the Ticket Stub.
Lone Star Community.
The Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Service has been dedicated to educating Texans for over a century. In 1915, the Extension Program was established under the federal Smith-Lever Act to deliver university knowledge and agricultural research findings directly to the people. Ever since, AgriLife Extension programs have addressed the emerging issues of the day, serving diverse populations across the state. Texans turn to Extension for solutions in horticulture, agriculture, 4-H and youth, and family and consumer sciences. Extension agents respond not only with answers, but also with resources and services that result in significant returns on investment to boost the economy. Join us Fridays at 1 o'clock for the AgriLife Extension Hour.
Our talk shows and music shows are looking for sponsors. Want to expand your brand awareness? Reach the hyper-local audience in Montgomery County? Lone Star Community Radio sponsorships accomplish this. Want to see our stats and rates? Check out irlonestar.com/sponsor for more information. Or call in and leave us a message at 936-647-3776.
Let's begin now.
We're back on the Ticket Stub. Connor here. Chris and Dick there. Missed the first segment. We did some movie news. And now we're going to rewind the movies that we have seen over the last week. So, Chris, going to throw it to you. Start us off with a rewind. What was it? Flip through your pages here.
Yeah, I got so many pages
You
going.
do
I don't know.
I was just asking, is all that for this show? And you said no, but now you seem to be looking through them all as if they might be.
Well, we were talking on last week's show about James Bond, and so I was like, I got into a James Bond mood. So I went and I rewatched the 1995 film. So I mean to say, GoldenEye.
Oh, perfect.
So starring Pierce Brosnan
Okay.
as James Bond.
Now, I get all these Pierce Brosnan ones. They all blend together in my head.
That's the best
It's the
one.
one based off the Nintendo 64 game.
Okay.
Right, yeah,
And
that's
that-
where they got the idea from it.
Yeah, and what's great is that I actually do remember the movie now that you say that by the different parts of the video game.
Boy, that was a great game.
Such a good game. Slaps only.
It's like,
Did you ever play Slaps
Somebody
Only?
plays Odd Job, cheats,
Yeah,
ridiculous.
cheats if you play this, but I like Slaps Only because it took forever to kill people.
One thing I loved about that game is if you watch the movie and you're a big fan, like the timeline in the game doesn't really match
quite
up.
work
like
out.
doesn't quite, and it's like, oh hey, by the way, this scene was only about 40 seconds in the movie.
But we're gonna make it a huge level.
It's
Yeah.
like let's fill in the blanks here, guys.
It's the greatest game of all time.
It's really good. So tell us about the movie.
All right, the movie is James Bond teams up with a lone survivor of a destroyed Russian research center to stop the hijacking of a nuclear space weapon by a fellow agent formerly believed to be dead. So it's Pierce Brosnan and makes his debut as James Bond. The Bond girl's Isabella Scoruppo, and she's pretty good in the movie. Sean Bean is in it. That was kind of the movie that hoisted him into the public eye. I don't think he really had done anything.
He
prior
did a
to
lot.
that.
He did more UK stuff.
Yeah.
And thank you
And
for
New Zealand
Sean
stuff,
Bean
yeah.
because he's awesome.
Yes, but the movie, obviously, it's the best Pierce Brosnan one. The opening of that film.
I don't know about that.
Don't say Die Another Day.
No, Tomorrow Never Dies is really good. I like this. I like the plot in that one.
I like that movie, but you're in the media mogul
I like that
genre. So
Yeah.
is that what you're going to turn into?
Dude, I would totally do that. I would be a Hearst in a second, just so I could be a butthead. Everybody.
Be a
all these
super-
movies are
super Bond
they're all
villain.
the same movie in my head, so I don't remember what you're talking about.
That's the
Yeah.
one that took place in China, or yeah,
And
took
it was
place in
a
China.
guy that owned a television station.
and he was trying to
Oh.
create World War III.
Yeah, okay.
so-
And that was a good plot.
It had some good action.
Is that the one with Halle
scenes.
Berry?
No, let's Die Another Day.
Oh, that was not
Yeah.
that good.
We should never speak of that film again.
I think we should say it every time. We should play the
Well,
Madonna song.
we are saying it every
Yeah.
time. So-
But GoldenEye, I do give you props. That was one. That was his first one, wasn't it?
It was his first one. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot about the movie that people don't like, where the soundtrack is not at all like a Bond soundtrack. It doesn't have the big horns or anything. It does during one scene, but you can tell it's like a re-edit.
Yeah.
The music was done by a guy named Eric Serra, and it's all like
Michael's dad.
Yes, Michael's dad, and it was all electronica kind of sound, which it's a cool soundtrack, but it's not the traditional Bond soundtrack. And also the Bond car. It's
the Beamer.
it is a BMW Z3.
Yeah, I remember
it's
that.
a Z3, and I liked the car. This is the first movie I ever saw by myself in the theaters. So I saw the car. I was like,
How do you
my
remember that?
gosh. It was only
Everyone
95.
remembers
It
that.
was only 1995.
What was the first movie you saw in a theater by yourself?
By myself,
Yeah.
Terminator 1.
You liar. You have no
No, I'm
idea.
just kidding.
You're such a
Yeah.
liar.
So the
And
car.
what year was that?
Yeah, no kidding.
All right.
My-
Anyways.
My parents
76.
just dropped me on that.
Oh wait, is that the theater that you were brought into this world in?
So
At the Grand?
So the car, I'm getting back to the car here. Okay, so I see this car, and I'm a kid. I'm 15.
Yes.
And I fell in love with the car. I was like, my God, this is the most awesome thing ever.
Okay.
So then the movie comes, the movie gets bigger, comes out. And then I just see, it seemed like every rich woman in America had the car. Like, it wasn't like cool, suave guys that had the
No.
car. It was every woman. It became a woman's
It's like
car.
if you like that, was that Mazda
Miata.
Miata,
Yeah.
but you want to pay like $20,000 more.
Right.
That's what you get.
So that's all I would see. And I was see him on the
So
street.
you
There's
and,
little
so you and wealthy
glimpses.
women have the same taste?
Well, we do because I bought the car.
Oh,
later.
you did?
I do, yeah.
You
Is
bought
that
the car?
I did. I drive it up here sometimes.
I thought
yeah.
I thought you drove.
No way!
Yeah.
I thought you had a
Yeah.
BMW.
What?
Yeah.
How long have you had that car?
Since
Wow, you're like way overreacting to this. Dick.
2009, yeah.
I'm just saying, every episode, Chris continuously impresses me
But
more.
that
and more.
that's why I got that car because of that movie. That was like
Really?
because it's the first movie I ever saw.
Is this like a pivotal
Mine's like
pivotal moment?
I think mine's like 2 years older, but or younger model than the
Oh,
the
so
one
you have
in
like
the
an
movie.
early 90s.
So
97.
what you're really telling us is the marketing worked.
It did work.
So
But I got to tell you, it is no Bond car. I'm telling you, it's 4-cylinder 1.9.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it does not haul at all.
And is
No,
this the one that you were
cannot go
like?
fast.
Is this the car that you were like? Oh, it's raining and my roof leaks. Is that
Yes,
this
it
car?
was. Yep. And boy, that day water was just pouring in through the side. I was trying to get
James
out.
Bond would be
and that's
proud.
when you just crank up the Bond music a little
Yeah.
louder.
Yeah.
It's like, this is how it goes,
Yeah,
guys.
yeah, but it's a lot of fun to drive.
You know, one thing I thinking about GoldenEye. One thing I love about what they did is in the previous Bond films, everyone knows he's a womanizer, and it's kind of like a staple in the movie themes, and it's very questionable to make a movie like that today.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing I loved when they started with the Pierce Brosnan deal is they upped the scale of like what a woman is. So they usually gave it to a role of like a scientist or nuclear physicist, and what's that one with Denise Richards? That's the other one. That's,
World is not enough.
World is
Yeah.
not enough, and it's like you give these. I guess they got criticized for it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, we'll make these women smart, but no matter what, somehow their walls are broken down by the charm still by,
Yeah.
and it's
He's
like
irresistible.
they still get used.
Yeah.
That's what I love. is
This
they
one's a computer programmer. in
There
this
we
movie.
go.
yeah, and she still gets used though, because
She
the whole
does,
time
yes.
she's kind of resisting him, like it's-
Hacksaw.
No, she's like resisting him the
Yeah.
whole time, like no, I'm whatever. But then finally, I
I
guess
love the scene in movies where girls are like, "This is so this is so what Hollywood's protesting right now." But girls are like, "No, no, no," and then the guy's like, "Yes," and
You're
and they're
gonna
like,
love me.
Okay, yeah, all
You're-
right.
you're gonna love
And the
me.
girl's just like, "Yes, okay, fine."
I watched a movie just like that last night with Holly called The Choice. It was a Nicholas Sparks movie, and it definitely had that vibe where it was like, is this guy just kind of creeping on her, and then
Little rapey vibe.
and then you just
Yeah.
break her down, guys.
slowly wear her down.
That's-
But you know what I'm talking about in the Bond films?
Alright.
I feel like
Oh, yeah.
we're self-conscious about
Oh,
this, guys.
yeah.
We gotta make the women smart, but
Alright.
still in the end, they bang them.
All right, Chris, how did you access this movie?
I have it on Blu-ray.
Oh, okay,
I've
so you
had it
watched-
forever, but it is on Amazon streaming. And
Okay.
it was on. It is on Hulu as well, so you can watch it.
All right,
there.
so check out Die Another Day if you no.
Oh, jeez. No, please don't do
Check
that.
out Goldeneye
No,
if
no.
you've never seen that. It's a
Well,
great
Die Another
movie.
Day is not too bad.
All right, Dick, we got
It
five.
did have a twist ending.
All right,
was
that's
kinda
enough James
cool.
Bond talk. It's a
Yeah.
movie that's like 20 years old.
Yeah.
Dick, what do you got?
So I saw the
Okay,
I saw
we're
the
gonna try that one more time.
2017 Fate of the Furious, which is the most recent Fast and the Furious sequel.
And also one of the greatest films of all time.
It is streaming on HBO Go. It's directed by, I'm not kidding you, F. Gary Gray.
Yeah.
And one thing I want to point out, this guy actually has a lot of credits
Why
to
do you hate
himself.
Gary Gray so much?
Well, it's just the way it reads.
Why are you saying F. Gary Gray?
That's how he's presented on IMDb. But he directed Straight Outta Compton. His first movie that he made a bunch of ways is Friday. He also did The Negotiator, which was the answer to the trivia question last episode. Law Abiding Citizen. He worked with actual Charlize Theron and Statham, who were in this movie, on Italian Job, and then he also worked with Vin Diesel previously in A Man Apart. So he definitely has been familiar with what's going on with this movie. The movie made over $1 billion, I found out. And, when I first started watching, I'm a huge fan. This is the first time I've seen this movie because I didn't see it in theaters. I'm a huge fan of Fast and the Furious. But this movie really got me questioning if The Rock was actually a superhero. Because every scene he's in, he's lifting people up. And I'm talking to the point where it's not human. It's like he's holding them, having conversations with people on walls. And it's just normal. And then when he punches people, they fly back 10 feet. Every person he punches, they're flying back somewhere. There's a great scene in the jail when they're escaping with Jason Statham. And it was just, that's when I go, they're superheroes. Like, this movie, they're going to have a crossover with Marvel. I'm not kidding. It's going to happen. I think this is also the first movie without what's his name? The man who passed away, Paul Walker.
Yeah.
So they didn't really talk about that at all. I was kind of curious with that. I was waiting for that to kind of integrate somehow into the movie. The one thing, I am going to ruin this, so this is going to be spoiler alerts. I know you reviewed this movie a while back.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you, what did you think of the reason the whole movie was taking place? Because Vin Diesel was secretly being blackmailed, but they didn't give you a reason why. It just had this, Charlize Theron literally shows him a phone, and then you don't see what's on the phone, and then the whole movie he turns his back on family. The whole movie. And you're like trying to question like, oh, Dom went rogue. That was kind of like the big deal. And I thought the reason he did it didn't really necessarily need to be a secret. Did you think that? Because at the end, basically the reason he did it was because he had a baby with the actress.
Like, are you asking why did he not just tell his friends
yeah,
what was going
like
on?
why? I didn't really feel like there was so much secretive things going on. Especially, I can understand if like he didn't want to do communication with them because Charlize Theron plays like a super hacker, so she knows everything. But there's a whole scene of Vin Diesel tricking her so he could have a conversation with Helen Mirren, who's in the movie, by the way, to talk to her. Like, there's a whole covert, like, he blocks cameras perfectly, and somehow he's able to have a face-to-face conversation with Helen Mirren. I'm like, so he's able to do it. Why not just tell them?
Yeah, I was wondering the same thing, and I was a little bit frustrated by Charlize Theron. Like, I don't know, I hate movies where it's just
I didn't really get the motive from her.
Yeah, it was a little bit unclear there, and again, like, I feel like it could have been solved easier than, like...
Because that was a big portion of the movie of like, why is he doing this? He shot Jason Statham. Like, there was some serious stuff going on in the plot development. And I was like, then why can't he just say, hey, she kidnapped my ex-girlfriend?
Well,
and
you can just say that there was something. You don't have to say exactly what happened and spoil the whole.
Well, no, we can spoil the movies in the reviews, can't we?
Well, but why do that? What if people isn't the whole point to inspire people to want to like go watch it?
Well, I just ruined it for them.
Well, I know.
So there we go. We're already too far. But one thing I wanted to ask you too, again, skip 5 minutes ahead if you don't want to hear this. When he kills her, when Charlize Theron kills the actress who plays Elsa Pataki, who was in like 5 and 6, and then she disappears because
she's the Brazilian lady, right?
Yeah, but she disappears because Rodriguez comes back, and now she's the girlfriend of Dom.
Yeah, there's some awkward Dom stuff up in there.
Yeah. And one thing
the greatest scene in like Fast 5 or whatever is when they make like sweet love in the Brazilian like bungalow, and there's no walls and it's just like curtains flapping in the wind and stuff. And he's laying there with the sheet like half on his body. You know like the scene in movies where like you can see his like abs and stuff.
Yeah, well, he's got to cover up that from that photo I sent you.
But I was going to ask you, why do you think they did that?
Did what?
Because I know it's kind of hard when you're in like your 7th or 8th movie. It's hard for a film saga to create stakes because you don't want to kill people off. But I guess they literally had like, who's the one that we can kill off that can create some turmoil, but at the same time won't affect the timeline.
Yeah, I think it was a little bit weird that they brought her back, but I think that's exactly why they needed someone. They needed a reason for him to turn, and I don't think they could do the Letty stuff anymore because they've already played that card so many times with Dom and Letty and like going back and forth on their love saga. So they needed a different reason, and I guess the fact that they'd hooked up for a couple movies, like that made sense to.
Well, especially with a baby, and that
Yeah.
was kind of like that's what the twist was. He has a son, so he actually has a family now. And I love that part.
Family.
He actually has a legitimate family, or illegitimate because they're not married. But and that's so. Close your
He
marks
actually
on
has an
it.
illegitimate family
but
now.
I heard there was a lot of scuttlebutt about the kid's name.
I forget the name.
Yeah, it's Paul Walker's character, Brian.
Oh, he names it Brian after.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yeah. Is
Yeah.
that what you thought?
I guess.
Okay.
Well, dude, they had this whole thing when she's in this not soundproof, but like this plexiglass of jail, and he's like, "Does he have a name?" And she's going through the conversation of like, "I was gonna tell you after you got back from your honeymoon for this other woman," and she's holding the baby, and she's like, well, "I didn't want to give him a name. I wanted that to be the father's," and kind of like even hitting more on the head, like, "You're the dad. You're the dad," and man, Vin Diesel when he goes from like Vin Diesel mode to like, oh, dramatic, oh my baby, it's great. And but my closing remarks on it is the movie is a lot of fun, great movie. I would totally go see it. I would buy it.
Yeah.
If you have a chance to buy it, it's part of the great deal about it. I think it's really great, all that good stuff. But I will have to say 2 things. I rewatched 1 through 5 immediately afterwards. I didn't want to sit in, but I was like really curious. So one thing I want to point out: Dom never marries anybody. So if you watch the first one, you didn't really know if him and Michelle Rodriguez were actually dating because you see him talking to all these other women throughout the whole movie, and she comes in like a cat going like, "Get away from him," that kind of stuff. So I want to point that out. He's just a womanizer. I didn't realize that. I always thought that he was always like married to Letty, like he was literally ring on finger married. They never get married.
They're married in their hearts.
Yeah, but they never. I mean, even today, even in the show today, they're not married. So, and
Marriage is a construct of the patriarchy, Dick. Come on, man.
But they no, because Paul Walker's character gets married to the
I'm
sister.
I'm just kidding. I don't-
So I didn't want to point that out. Is Vin Diesel's character Dom has illegitimate children, and all over the place. So I thought that was kind of funny. And then I will say, when after the 4th one, that's when it jumped the shark, and they decided to sell out.
Except for in the best way possible. Jump the shark is negative, and it did it.
Oh, that's true.
It jumped the shark in the greatest way of all time,
Yeah, they sold out. It was well 1 through 4 very enjoyable.
and then they get better. I will say that I heard an interview recently about that was someone who worked with Vin Diesel, and it was like on one of his first movies. He was like he went out and he was wandering the streets right outside the studio, and they were like, "Vin, what are you doing?" And he goes, "I'm just seeing what it's like to be able to walk without people swarming me, because soon I'm going to be the most famous person in the entire world." He was like, he was confident from day one. But hey, it happened. All right, we're overdue. We got to go to break. When we come back, I'm going to rewind the movie that I've seen over the last week, and then we're going to talk Razzies. We're going to talk Oscars, and at the end of the episode, we're going to give away 2 tickets to the Grand. So stick with us here on the Ticket Stub.
Let's begin now.
Don't forget to download the Lone Star Community Radio app from your Google Play or Apple Store. Bring Montgomery County's community radio with you anywhere with your smartphone or tablet. If you are in the Conroe area, tune in on FM. That's Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1. If you are on the computer, bookmark irlonestar.com as your internet radio station. A Lone Star Community Radio. Broadcasting 24/7 from the heart of downtown Conroe, Texas.
Hey, Montgomery County, it's me, C.C. Holmes. And I would personally like to take this time to invite you, that's right, you, to join me every Saturday and Sunday from 3 until 7 p.m., where I will bring you the very best of smooth jazz, classic jazz, and indeed, yes, the soulful sounds of the 60s, 70s, and 80s. So come along and get jazzy with me. That's right, jazzy. Right here, of course, on Conroe's 104.5 and 106.1 FM, or worldwide at irlonestar.com.
We're back on the Ticket Stub. We want to remind you that we're coming live every Thursday at noon on 104.5 and 106.1 FM in the Conroe area. You can also listen on irlonestar.com, and you can find all of our information on irlonestar.com/TTS. Make sure you like us on Twitter at @_Ticket Stub. Find us on Facebook, podcast feeds, YouTube channels. If you want it, we got it. We're talking Instagram, except for we don't think any of us will keep up with that, but we'll see if we can put together an Instagram, start taking some selfies of us all about the town.
I just want to know what you're really doing, Connor.
What I'm really doing?
Yeah, I know what you're really doing on social media. So.
Oh, you don't want to know. Well, I want to talk. I didn't get a chance to talk about.
Did you recreate that scene?
Which one?
When you're on top of the villa with no
Vin
sheet.
Diesel. I like to lay with the sheet barely draped.
Oh, man. You know what's funny? We were mentioning
so
that.
slightly.
I also saw Triple X, and there's a scene like that, and I go, man, Vin Diesel, like he literally says, like, oh, the price of working for your country, and he basically has like a giant orgy implies.
It's kind of like how Tom Cruise, I think it's like mandated that he like has a scene where he's running at full speed in every movie.
Yep.
Vin Diesel has like mandated
he has to be the coolest guy.
Yeah, gotta be really cool. Well, I saw it was actually over the last 2 weeks that I saw a movie called The Post. Maybe you've heard of it.
Yeah.
In theaters right now. It's up for some Oscars, everything like that. Got kind of snubbed at the Golden Globes and the SAGs. I don't think it's really won much. And this seems like one of those movies that was built for award season. You know, it's got the big name actors. It's got the really serious subject matter. Mm-hmm. It makes the media look like the heroes of the story. It's starring Tom Hanks, Meryl Streep. Bob Odenkirk is probably like maybe the third main character. The plot is that it's all surrounding Vietnam War and the Pentagon Papers, and it's kind of leading up to the events of Watergate. And it's all this stuff about the government was trying to hide the truth of Vietnam, and they knew that it was a hopeless war, but they continued to send troops more and more over there, even though they knew it was kind of just basically sending people to die. And so then the newspapers get a hold of this stuff, and it's all about, do we publish it or not? Because the government says they're going to prosecute and, Supreme Court type stuff. So, I mean, it was slow. Man, it was not very exciting. Like the drama scenes where people standing around going like, should we? Huh? Should we? But what if? Should we? It's like the action was like them deciding whether to like publish or not, which I think inherently is not real exciting. Maybe just like, should we print the newspaper or not print the newspaper? And they tried to. It was so like heavy-handed in so many ways.
Are they basically saying since today they can just release it, but underneath another name and another BS organization like BuzzFeed?
Yeah, and I don't know. The ironic part is you're looking at this going like, oh yeah, newspaper is pretty relevant. I mean, like in 2018 to think about like how, but. She was a woman, and she was like the only woman. Like every scene, she would walk into a room, and it was just full of white men, and it was like so. Like, and I'm sure that's what it was like, but it's like, okay,
that's that unknown actress that just got nominated for an Oscar.
Yeah,
right?
She's really not very well known. Meryl Streep's her name, but her and Hanks both. Man, this is not even close to the best stuff I've seen them do.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. The reports I read basically is this is the technical Oscar bait movie. Like this is what Oscar bait is.
It's like you have the like A plus B equals C formula, and so you plug in like Tom Hanks and Meryl Streep with a story about how the government sucks and the media is the best, and it's shot well, should equal tons of Oscars, right? But it's just like I don't feel like there's really any heart behind it. I don't feel like they're like almost like they weren't on autopilot, but it's just I don't know. It was just boring.
One thing I want to ask you since you saw it, one issue I always have with movies that take place about period piece movies is there's always some embellishment and there's always some twisting of things. In this movie, did you have any interest in like looking in the past? Because when I saw from reading people's thoughts, they basically said All the President's Men was a 10 times better movie. If you have any interest in this time period, go see that movie about newspapers and stuff. But outside that, did you have any interest in reviewing more topics on this? Or
I mean, it did. It was one of those things where again, there's a lot of these things that are before me, and I'm not a historian or anything like that, so I didn't know a ton about it. I mostly kind of know what's just out in the ether and the zeitgeist or whatever. So I did want to go look a little bit more into what the Pentagon Papers were, and I guess in that regard, like thanks for the movie. The one ironic thing that I found was through all my research, it's all about the Washington Post, and it mentions the New York Times several quite all throughout as like their main competitor, but it really makes it seem like the Washington Post was like the hero newspaper. And then when you read like a lot of the history stuff, the Washington Post is like a small footnote on what the New York Times was actually doing. So to me, at least as best as I can understand it, to me it's like the New York Times was really the one, like they had the story first. They were the ones that got deposed by the Supreme Court. The Post was the one who was like, well, screw it, we're going to do it anyways. But it already, all the way had been paved by the New York Times first. Anyways, I would say there's tons of Academy Award movies out there right now that are better than this one. So if you've seen all the other Oscar ones and you want to just be a completionist, then you can check this one out. Or if you love kind of really, really, really slow, not super interesting drama movies, which I think there are people that's kind of their wheelhouse, then you can do this. But other than that, I would say, go check out I, Tonya if you can still find that in theaters somewhere, because I really liked that one a lot.
I think that was nominated for screenplay, I think.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
We've got Shape of Water at the theater starting Friday.
Yeah.
So it'll kind of rotate at different times. But we have that as well.
Yeah, Shape of Water, super weird. But at least I can understand why that's, well-loved.
So would you recommend seeing The Post?
No, I would not. I would, like I said, go see the other Oscar movies.
Well, did you just curious too? The last remarks on it. I also read that it was a base. They kind of everyone who saw it felt it was too obvious that they're making this movie to say something about the current administration of the United States, the president stuff, and then that's why they thought it was embellishing a lot because
it was a lot about censorship. For the first time ever, the government censored the newspapers, and it never happened before. And again, you can think whatever you want. I'm not sure that that's equivalent to what's happening today, but it was of the time. Yeah, it was about what's happening, and I'm sure that that's part of why it's getting maybe received in some positive ways. Well, speaking of awards, speaking of Oscar movies, let's talk a little bit about what's up for awards. So there's 2 different awards that are happening on consecutive days. On March 3rd, the Razzies will come out and reveal the worst. If you don't know what the Razzies are, it's like the Golden Raspberry.
That's so cool.
And it's the worst movies of the year. And then on March 4th will be the Oscars. And so I've always heard of the Razzies. I've never watched it before. Have y'all actually watched the award show?
I've seen acceptance speeches and stuff because sometimes the actors or producers or screenwriters do show up.
Yeah, there's a whole part on their website of who do you think is going to show up, of based on the people
they invite
nominated.
them. Yeah, I was telling Chris the funniest one was the Sandra Bullock showed up for All About Steve. That's what it was, and she showed up and basically just kind of said this movie's trash. And then I think Halle Berry even showed up for Catwoman.
Oh wow!
And she talked about why Catwoman was such a bad movie, and I don't know how long it took her to explain that one. But
not very long.
But the Razzies, I like the Razzies.
Okay, so just to go over, I'm going to run through some of the movies that are up for different awards. They have Worst Picture, Baywatch, Emoji Movie, 50 Shades Darker, The Mummy, and the Transformers. Does that say 8, 7, whatever the last night? Also Unforgettable, your movie, Dick, and also Jake Reiner's movie. Mother, which is kind of maybe surprising. I don't know. Boo 2, The Circle, The Mummy, Pirates of the Caribbean, Daddy's Home. Chris,
yeah, I'm a little miffed about Mel Gibson being nominated for Worst Supporting Actor. That's ridiculous. He should not be on that.
That's one thing I wanted to say about the Razzies is I would say 3/4 of their picks are legitimate picks, and they always choose one that shouldn't really even be like The Mummy. The Mummy wasn't the worst movie. I think the reason they picked it was worse than what it was expected of it, if that makes sense.
And that was part of my comment about this is the most closely I've ever looked at the Razzie nominations list. And I think for me, it's like, I get that you have to pick movies that people care about or else no one's going to care about your award show. But these are not the worst movies that have come out in 2008 and 2017.
Well, I would say the Worst Picture, that's a legitimate.
Except,
some of those are at least.
Baywatch is not that bad. I like it.
You liked it?
It was it was over 50%.
Well, you could argue that's under that category where it was just high expectations were not just
but
not
what did
met,
people
but
think? What were you people walking into Baywatch? Were they expecting cinematic greatness, or were they expecting
something that would be funny? I would think.
Well, there was funny moments in Baywatch for sure. It was not nearly as bad as Boo 2 Medea.
The Emoji Movie better win that category.
And surely so.
No,
right?
50 Shades.
50 Shades.
Horrible,
I
horrible
saw
acting,
that.
Horrible casting.
I saw that movie.
I didn't see it. Are you excited for the new one, Chris?
No.
I saw
50 Shades
the acting.
Freed.
See, the thing about that movie.
It reminds me of go ahead.
The thing about that movie, Chris, that movie's just frustrating to watch. The Emoji
because it looks
Movie,
like you're watching your brother and sister.
Oh,
that's the problem.
What?
That's so true.
What?
Yeah.
Why does it look like it's your brother and sister?
They didn't know the chemistry with those two. The chemistry of it just doesn't work. You know what movie I did see? I don't know if I talked about this. Is 50 Shades Blacker.
It was
the Marlon Wayans parody. That was legitimately funny. I think it's on.
I did see that.
It's legitimately funny.
I sure did. Yeah.
Okay, so what So you're saying what shouldn't be on the list? Let's just go worst picture: Baywatch, Emoji, 50 Shades, Mummy, Transformers. Should any of these movies not be on the list? I'm saying Baywatch for sure.
I would have to say either Baywatch or The Mummy.
Okay, The Mummy was pretty rough.
I don't know how a Transformers movie could be on here, just from a special effects side.
Okay, so you're just saying
Yeah, but
technically it's pretty great.
Like if you started, like I watched Transformers for a while, like I kept up with it. It's gone. That's the only thing they do in that movie now. Like the dialogue, the plot. You're like sitting there going, how did we get from Witwicky to this? And
Well, even when the Burris was in studio, he talked about how terrible the Transformers movie was. I've been saying this since it came out, but The Dark Tower is the worst movie that came out in 2018. It's so garbage. It's so bad, and I don't see it anywhere. At least when I looked through it the first time, I didn't see it up for anything. The plot was stupid. The acting was bad. The effects were bad. Overall, it was bad. And somehow it skates by, not getting any nominations for the Razzies. Meanwhile, Baywatch, a perfectly fine film, is up for 4 Razzies for Baywatch. I'm offended.
That's what I'm saying. You could definitely tell there's an industry pick here, and they're just trying to say like you suck. It's like Baywatch. Like clearly, Baywatch isn't probably the worst movie.
No.
But there's certain elements to some movies that, like for example, the Emoji Movie. Like the Emoji Movie just had no direction to it. It was either a propaganda film for apps, like Dance Dance Revolution or whatever. Like they literally paid one giant ad, or it was. I mean, I can't explain how a couple of these movies were made. And like saying Johnny Depp in the Pirates of the Caribbean, that movie, he did all right in that movie. Like he played Jack Sparrow. I mean, like how like he looked like the same Jack Sparrow to me from the first one, which is highly rated.
Yeah.
So that's kind of weird to nominate him for actor.
So what of these movies? Because we're gonna do we're gonna do Razzie picks and we're gonna do Oscar picks.
Okay.
And if I remember right, our Razzie, the worst person has to watch the winner.
The winner of the worst picture.
Yeah, the person who loses our contest has to watch whoever wins worst picture.
Yeah.
So of those, what would be the one that you would least want to be assigned out of the worst picture options? You've already seen Emoji.
Yeah,
so.
I would say the 50 Shades Darker because that movie, like I said, it's just frustrating to watch.
Yeah.
If I had a controller, which I did, I certainly paused it several times with Holly, and then I was like, I can't do this.
Just on specific scenes, you just pause, keep it up.
No, like just where they were going, because I did not care. Like I looked down, I was like, because they love that stuff, and one of her roommates read the book, so she's like interested. But she even said she hated it because it really is one of those movies that's like just poorly paced. You have no idea what's going on.
Even women hated it. That's how bad it was.
Yeah, and I'm like, and I'm sitting there going like, I just don't care. Like this movie would be so much better if one of them dies.
Oh.
And then either becomes paralyzed, and it's me before you too.
Murder suicide. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah. Oh man.
Oh,
it's a Romeo and Juliet remake.
Nomeo. Buy the pin at the Grand.
I'd buy the
buy
pin
the double
for
murder suicide Nomeo and Juliet pin at the Grand.
50 Shades Darker pin. I would totally buy that.
All right, Chris. What about you? What's the one you least want to watch?
50 Shades.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna go Emoji Movie because I just.
But that won't win. The Emoji Movie will probably win.
Yeah, I do not want to watch the Emoji Movie. I mean, or any of them, but especially Emoji Movie. All right, let's talk Oscars. Let's talk about like positive enjoyment of movies and films.
No.
Films is what we call them when we really care.
The Oscar show.
The Oscar show. I bet it won't be political at all if I were to guess, right?
What's funny is I would say maybe not, but I saw Jimmy Kimmel is the host.
Oh, he's gonna for sure.
And then he for sure is gonna say something.
Yeah, it's gonna be a ton. It'll be interesting to see how the like Me Too stuff comes to play because the Golden Globes, like that was the theme. Are they gonna do it again, or now is it like pick a different topic, or is it gonna just be like general hate Trump, or what the feeling of the room is gonna be in there? Yeah. It'll be interesting. Well, so what stood out from the nominations? There's a million different categories. Let's just kind of look at the major movies that are there. Did anything stand out as like maybe surprising that it got nominated for you guys? Is it all like the stuff you expected to happen?
Yeah, pretty much. I think by this late in award seasons, you kind of have a pretty good idea of what's going to get nominated. Except James Franco.
Yeah,
did not get nominated.
So do you think that's because of the there's allegations against him?
I think it's 100%.
It's got to be, right?
And I'm not taking a side here, but I don't think that's fair at all because it's not something that's been proven as of yet.
Yeah.
to be true, and I think you're just gonna take a career highlight moment away from him, possibly just because of an allegation that may or may not be true. I mean, if it's true, certainly he should be ousted after that point. But these guys are being tried and convicted without having any kind of formal court hearing.
Yeah,
So-
it's funny because it's like Hollywood doesn't know what to do with itself right now.
And I don't even like him.
Yeah.
I don't even like James Franco.
Well,
but-
I would agree with partially, but I also think the tone of the movie and the history of that movie, I feel like the Academy feels they're above it.
Yeah.
Because, to me, you're talking about a remake of a movie or telling a story of a movie that's probably one of the worst movies, laughed at movies 15 years ago or whatever when it first came out. They're like, what is The Room? And the Oscars has never been a cult classic kind of thing. Have you noticed that? Like, ever since they opened up the voting and everything for everyone to be involved with, it's usually what people have seen. And
So that's a big part of it is that you hear these reports that like the Oscar voters don't see all the movies, and so it's such a jacked up system.
Yeah.
And no, they have made efforts over the last 2 years, especially to go younger and diverse, because it was like 98% white men over 50.
well, how it works is each category, if you're an Academy member of that category, you vote in that category. Best
Yeah.
Picture, though, is everybody. So for Best Cinematography, it's voted on cinematographers.
But they've really worked.
But they have to see the movie.
Well, and then they sometimes don't, and they really have. And the Academy's worked to change the landscape of its people, because again, it was a lot of producers and stuff like that, and so it would skew really kind of one way. So I think you're seeing, for me, Get Out getting nominated, I think is a really cool thing, because that was a smaller movie.
Yeah.
It came out not during Oscar season. It came out in March, and it was able to carry momentum all the way through the year, which is pretty rare.
I didn't even think it was that good of a movie.
Oh, it was a great movie.
I didn't either, but
Oh, I really liked
but
Get Out.
I got to give him respect.
I'm talking when you compare that quality of a movie to the Phantom Thread, which I haven't seen, but
Yeah, I've not heard anything super great.
well,
about Phantom
Dunkirk
Thread.
and things. I feel like Dunkirk was a better made movie than Get Out.
Well, except for Dunkirk didn't really have a plot. I mean, it depends on what you're looking at. If you're talking about the way it was shot.
Well, this is
or
the best of the best.
Yeah.
This is what we're talking about here. The
Yeah,
best of the best.
But
of
there's
a
so many
movie.
categories in best of the best. If you're talking about how it was shot, look and think about budget. Think about the budget that Christopher Nolan's going to have versus what Jordan Peele is going to have to make this. I mean, this maybe not indie, but almost indie type movie. And I think it was entirely script, plot, execution driven. And I just think it was really interesting. I think it was really well done for what they had. I was surprised that it got. I wanted it to get nominated. I was surprised that it did. And anyway, then we'll see. I can't imagine it will win. I'm sure that something like Shape of Water or if Three Billboards wins, I'm gonna be so annoyed. That's my take. Did y'all see that? Either of y'all see
No.
Three
Well,
Billboards?
I will say this. I think the Oscars is a joke. Overall,
Okay.
I really think it's a joke, and to me, it's really hard to gauge, and why the industry, especially in the theater industry, I mean, they depend on some portion of the percentage every year is on the Oscars, because either they re-release it, or
Yeah.
things like that. Which I feel like in the long run, when people start realizing how much of a joke the Oscars is, then it's going to hurt that kind of thing, because people don't care anymore.
I don't
Especially,
think they're gonna. I mean, I don't know what would change from what people already know right now. How would it become more of a joke than it is right now as far as awareness?
well, I mean, for example, I find it. I think we talked about this in the other show. Call Me by Your Name, that movie. From what I've read about it, it highlights homosexuality, which is that's political in itself. But really, the question I asked was, what happens if the roles were reversed? If it was a young woman being pursued, or a young woman pursuing an older man, is that viewed okay? Most people would say no. No one likes that.
I did think there's some
But-
irony about the young boy and old man relationship, and how this movie's really acclaimed, and also that's pretty weird right now. But Three Billboards, I don't know. It's got a lot of buzz behind it. I hope the buzz. Oscars are so funny because it's almost like a sports team. You have to get hot at the right moment, and if you get hot too early, then you can really hurt yourself. I'm hoping the Three Billboards kind of burns out. I did not think it was that good. I don't really see. I mean, there was some good moments, but whatever.
Did you notice that Lady Bird's director got nominated?
Yeah, Greta did, which
Do
I
you
think
think
is
that was political?
100% backlash to the fact that no girl got nominated in the Golden Globes. But we got to wrap the show up. Hate to cut it short. Have more to say probably, but we'll have a lot more to talk about the Oscars and Razzies, because we've got almost we got a whole month plus before all this stuff kicks up. We'll be doing some voting. The winner for the grand ticket giveaway, we don't have the call queued up to play?
No.
Okay. Well, okay. Well, we had a call this week from Wes Smith. He's one of our frequent engagers on social media and everything like that. So he had a great hotline. We'll try to get it. I don't know how we'll play it, but anyways, we'll give him the tickets for this week. Next week, I'm gonna watch Phantom Thread. Y'all have movies y'all gonna watch? Anybody know anything you want?
I'm gonna do Starship Apocalypse for the extra content.
Okay.
You know, Brad Bishop was in with us, so he was in that movie. I want to check it out.
Yeah, I want to check out King Arthur, the new one with Guy Ritchie film that you reviewed.
Yeah.
It's on HBO, so I want to check it out and see how bad it is.
All right, perfect. Be sure you're checking our special bonus content on the Facebook and the podcast feed. Until then, we'll see you guys next week. Signing off on the Ticket Stub.
Thank you for checking out this production of Lone Star Community Radio. Lone Star Community Radio is Montgomery County's community radio station. Don't forget to check out this show and many others across the Lone Star Community Radio Network, either live on Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1, the Lone Star Internet Radio app, or irlonestar.com's live audio stream, and on replay on podcast, Channel 12's Our City TV in Conroe, or Channel 21 KVQT in Houston, and of course their YouTube channel. This production is copyrighted and all rights are reserved by Lone Star Community Radio. Have a question regarding this program or other Lone Star Community Radio shows? Want to sponsor or start your own show? Call the station message line at 936-647-3776 or email the station at lscrstudios@gmail.com.